Welcome everybody to the CSFL recap show. I'm your host and Commissioner JD. I got with me owner of the Demons on the recap show to break these week 4 games down for you. Thank you so much for joining me, Demons. Love having you here, man.
Hey, happy to be here once again, Johnny.
This is awesome. What a week of drama and heartbreak. Oh my goodness. It was a good one, and we're going to jump right into the Friday games. Friday night, we had the Piranhas and the Scorpions, and Demons and Bears. We'll hop right into those games right away. With the Piranhas and the Scorpions game. Holy smokes, what a game. As you can see up on the screen there, both these teams scored quite a bit of points, but the Scorpions had them for most of the game, and the Piranhas came back. Alonzo Graham just can't be stopped. No matter what you do, you just can't hold them down. Piranhas just look unstoppable. They're just so impressive. They got held to 3 field goals. I know that was a big part of the game, but besides all that, I think they both played really well. I'm really proud of how well the Scorpions played against these Piranhas. But without further delay, let's get the Demons uh, breakdown of the game and what you think the story of the game was. Demons, let's hear it. I'm excited.
Going in, we knew this was a measuring stick game for the Scorpions. They first 3 weeks of the season, they looked really good. We all know the Piranhas are a top team, but the Scorpions were still a little bit of an unknown, and I think after this one, you've got to put them up there as a top team. They were with the Piranhas every step of the way and had a chance to win by the end of this one. Going through the quarters, Piranhas start with the ball, and they're trying to establish Burnsides. He ends up with 40 yards rushing, but held to a field goal. It's a win for the Scorpions on the opening drive, as far as I'm concerned, if you can hold the Piranhas to enough field goals. Scorpions respond with a touchdown with Tiki Carter running 34 yards in for the score. And you can see that this game's going. It's going to be a battle of the running backs. You're going to have Burnsides against Carter, two of the best in our league, going at it. Piranhas lean on Burnside again in the next drive. They try to pass on 3rd and goal from the 1-yard line. Scorpions knock it down and force another field goal early in the second. Then Scorpions are ripping off some nice chunk plays, get to the red zone on their following drive. And a name that you're going to hear again is CB Neil Mitchell. Makes a huge tackle on Tiki Carter for a 5-yard loss on the 2nd and goal. And that forces a field goal from the Scorpions. Now, Neil Mitchell's he made another tackle for a loss later in the game, and he was in Tiki Carter's head on a couple plays.
Wow.
At that point, we're getting close to the 2-minute warning, and the Piranhas go into their 2-minute drill. And Burnsides disappears at that point. We've seen it in the last few weeks. The Alonzo Graham show takes over. He runs a 4-play touchdown drive where there was a costly pass interference penalty in the end zone on the Scorpions. Looked easy for the Piranhas, and they do that to everyone. So that's no bashing at the Scorpions. The Piranhas just seem to do that in the 2-minute warning. Seymour responds for the Scorpions. Hits Wilson for a 65-yard touchdown. He was wide open, had all day to throw. It was a 1-play response, and Scorpions take the lead right back. And then, for the first time this season, right before halftime, the story is always the Piranhas getting that quick response touchdown. Not this time. This time, Scorpions intercept Alonzo Graham before half, but they fumble on the play. Piranhas recover, end up getting a field goal. Huge turning. That's a three. It's at least a 3-point swing. Who knows what the Scorpions would have done if they would have held on to that interception. But 17-16 Scorpions at halftime. Second half, Scorpions open with a kick return touchdown, and they're rolling. Piranhas can't score on the opening drive of their third. They're forced to punt. They're down by 8. And there's some beautiful plays by the Scorpions D-line stopping Burnside and getting pressure on Graham. 2:40 left in the third. Tiki Carter breaks 3 tackles and outruns the entire Piranhas D for a 78-yard touchdown. And this one's looking like I'd call it an upset if the Scorpions won simply because of how we view the Piranhas. But
Yeah.
maybe it shouldn't be an upset. Maybe the Scorpions are up there with these guys. 1:31 left in the third. The Piranhas start their comeback. They have a play action. Andre Watson's wide open, 46-yard TD. He literally could have walked in. Neil Mitchell, there he is again on the next drive, makes a huge stop. He outmuscles Tiki Carter just shy of the first down marker, causing a punt on that third down stop. And then play action again for the Piranhas, a 63-yard TD. These big play Piranhas, they score so quickly, they hit you so fast. They hit Preston on a 63-yard touchdown early in the fourth. Burnsides converts the 2-point convert. It's 31-all before you know it. The Scorpions had worked so hard they kept a 2-score lead, and the Piranhas just wiped it out before you even know it. Piranhas then force the Scorpions force a 3-and-out, but Scorpions kick a field goal. Big TD drive by the Piranhas after that, a 9-play drive with 1:57 remaining. Scorpions down by 4. Seymour throws 3 straight incompletions and then a 7-yard throw for a turnover on downs, and Scorpions and the Piranhas run out the clock on them. It's a disappointing end for the Scorpions, but great game by the Piranhas. You can't fault them. They played great as they usually do, but Scorpions under 2 minutes had the ball, down by 4. They had their shot. Their offense was rolling for most of the game, and their offense couldn't get the ball rolling in the last 2 minutes. Their D had a great game. Ernie Pounds had 2 tackles for a loss. Free safety Randall Williams had 7 tackles on the day. It was a game where just every play just felt gigantic. Every time someone touched the ball, threw the ball, it just looked like you hold your breath because something big's about to happen. Loved it. Great start to the week.
Wow, great breakdown. And yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Wow. It's just Alonzo Graham just coming back and staying strong, and they're just so consistent. And it just wasn't enough of a lead, I guess. But like you said, they had a chance to put it away in 3 straight incompletions there, and then the turnover on 4th down. Man, what a performance! These Scorpions are extremely impressive. You're absolutely right about that. Let's go take a look at the rankings real quick. Let's take a look at the Scorpions first. These Scorpions end up finishing with the 8th total offense, 2nd in the rush with Tiki Carter leading the way, but 12th last in pass offense and total 5th defense. But look at that, first for turnovers, tied for first for turnovers with +5. These Scorpions, man, they're deceiving 2-2. That's for sure, eh, Demons?
I think so. I mean, you are what your record says you are, but they're one of the better 2-2 teams. They could, a few bounces here or there, and they're looking at a much better record than 2-2.
Man, yeah, and to be 2-2 after playing the Piranhas, so that's always a benchmark in this league. That's for sure. Wow, man. What a chance, man. They held them down really, really well. I was so excited. I know there was a couple plays there where, it looked like it was a first down, but they ruled it 4th and inches, and then there was another play later where it looked like he clearly went over the line, but they ruled him out. So I understand that, but if it comes down to one play, then I think you're playing really good, in my opinion. I think you're right
absolutely.
there.
It's anyone's ball game at that point.
Right. If it's not a bunch of things going wrong, then I think you're playing really well, and it's only one play. Like, that doesn't happen every time, and if you're on that type of performance, then you're gonna be winning more than not. Let's just say that. Man, these Scorpions. Is there anything you want to say about these standings before I look at the Piranha score rankings?
Turnover differential, like you already said. Great job for the Scorpions on that. Their defense is stepping up. And rushing offense, I'm not surprised. Tiki Carter's been a beast.
That's for sure. All right, now these Piranhas, man, are they looking strong or what? First in points per game, 3rd total offense, 1st for rushing. Wow, 3rd on defense, 4th against the pass. This is like they got one, two, three, four, five, six categories that are 4 and above. These Piranhas are just super exciting to watch every week, and now they're going against these Vipers next week, and the Vipers were the only team to beat them in the regular season last week. Do we got an upset maybe in brewing here, or do you think the Piranhas are just going to keep on rolling?
Vipers made some changes this week and looked good in their win. Maybe this is it. I mean, that seems to be the question with the Piranhas every week. Is this the week someone finally takes them down? That's what happens when you're on top. People want to see you get knocked down. These guys, the first for points per game, first rushing offense. The topic is always Burnside and how well he's doing, and whether or not the other team can stop him or have their running back put up a better game than him. Or +4 on the turnover differential. They're playing solid on D. There's only really good things. This team's doing a lot of things right, and they've earned their 4-0 record.
Wow, for sure. They've won in almost every type of game, where they were down and they came back. They were in the lead and kept the lead. They had a close game and won a close game. Like, man, these Piranhas are just extremely versatile. Is that the right word?
Resilient, I'd say.
Resilient?
They're versatile too, though, Johnny. I mean, they're both like because even another one they had a game where Graham threw 2 interceptions and Burnside was shut down, and they still pulled out a win. They just find a way to win.
Yeah, these Piranhas, man. We don't have enough time to talk about these Piranhas because you could talk about these guys all day. That is for sure.
I warned you in the pregame that I had a lot to say about that game.
Oh, for sure. It's totally worth it, though. It was an exciting game. I thought this was the week. So everyone's going to be excited to see these Piranhas lose. It's more about that than them winning now. All right. Let's go take a look at the next game, which was the Demons and Bears. Holy smokes, was this a good one or what? Let's go take a look at that. Demons and Bears. Boom. These Demons pull out another win in overtime. Oh my goodness. The owner here, Paul, must have been so excited. I can only imagine. It was so close, and it was like such a defensive struggle, and I just thought that the Bears were just going to explode in the second half, and they ended up getting stopped to like 3 points, I believe it was, in the second half, and they just couldn't get the run going, and the Demons just really proving who they are and showing their identity. Speaking about the Scorpions showing about who they are, and I think the Demons really showed who they are again right here. They're able to shut down, or maybe not shut down, but they're able to keep the Vipers and the Bears to 20 and under. Because it was 18, I believe they kept the Vipers to, and 20 for the Bears. Demons aren't just an offensive powerhouse, and I think they proved that in this game. Demons, let's hear the breakdown for the Demons and Bears game. I'm excited to hear it.
Well, 2 weeks ago we were talking about the Bears being the team to beat, and they've fallen to 2-2, unfortunately for them, with some heartbreaking losses last week to the Wildcats in overtime, this week to the Demons. In both games, they started with the ball in overtime. But yeah, I mean, my Demons here, they're at home. It's looking like the Demons defense is going to be a tough matchup for anybody.
Wow.
On the road is another story altogether, but at home the Demons are 2-0 and they're averaging 19 points a game allowed. This was a grind. Both teams started a 3-and-out, punted early. The Bears were trying to get momentum going on offense, but the Demons weren't they weren't allowing any big plays for the Bears. The first point scoring drive of the game was a 12-play, 50-yard drive. Bears almost scored a TD. They had an open receiver in the back of the end zone, but he stepped out of bounds. Catch didn't count. They held him to a field goal. Demons go 3-and-out again, so 2 straight 3-and-outs for the Demons. And it did look a little worrisome on offense, but I'll get to that later. The Demons D continues to make life difficult for the Bears on the following drive, but the Bears do grind their way to a touchdown on a 6-yard pass to Doug Burrow. Then the defense offense wakes up, one play drive, 76-yard play action play to Lamar Ball. And that's what the Demons seem to be doing. If you look back to their game last week too, it's quick strikes. They make big plays, and that was just an example of it. The Bears had grinded and grinded for 10 points, and the Demons in one play cut the lead to 3.
Wow. So true.
The Bears same story on the Bears' next drive. They grind another TD before half on a 9-play, 76-yard drive. Williams with a TD run on his third try on 3rd and goal. Breaks the plane this time and brings the lead to 17-7. Great first half by Ryan Dillon of the Bears, wide receiver, 100 yards receiving in the first half alone. Doran Johnson, linebacker for the Demons, had 2 tackles for a loss in the first half, and that was a big story of the game for the Demons defense, was defense getting into the backfield. Whether they might not have been getting to Bill Morris, but they to get the sack, but they were hitting him. They were pressuring him. They were making a difference. So we go into halftime, 17-7. No first downs for the Demons in the first half, unless you count the touchdown. Demons opened the third quarter with a nice field goal drive, but some questionable throws by Watson, who has been pretty solid all year, but definitely made some questionable throws on that drive. He opted for some covered receivers over open ones. The second week in a row, then, on the next drive, the Demons make a nice sack on 2nd down, have the Bears at 3rd and 18, and you think 3rd and 18, you're going to force a punt, and the Bears convert. Last week it was a 3rd and 17, and the Dragons converted on him, and that was a backbreaker. This week it was not a backbreaker for the Demons. The Ivan Erickson gets an interception on the next play, leads to a field goal, 17-13. Demons defense locks it down again, forces another punt, and then the Demons have their own long drive, 11 plays, 3 minutes 10 seconds, and the Lamar Ball caps it off with a touchdown, take the first lead of the game, and then the Bears go 3 and out again on a huge sack by the Demons on 3rd down. And the Demons looked to put it away at that point. There was the time was ticking away fast in this one. Lamar Lester was getting the ball a lot on that last drive. He ran for a first down. The Bears were running out of timeouts, and it was 2nd down and less than 5. And the Demons got fancy. They ran a fullback handoff instead of just keeping the ball to Lester. And Sanders fumbles, recovered by the Bears. Bears kick a field goal, and tie it up at 20-all with 32 seconds left.
Wow.
Demons questionable play calling on this one. 32 seconds left. Three timeouts in the 4th quarter. All you have to do is get down and kick a field goal. And for some unfathomable reason, Demons run the clock out and let it go to overtime.
Wow.
Bears start with the ball in overtime. Demons D continues where it leaves off with another 3 and out for the Bears. And then all game, Shane Fine Wine Antwine has been held down. He only had 17 yards up to this point, and they were trying to find him deep all game. The passes were getting deflected, knocked down. He was just covered really well. But first play of overtime for the Demons. Here it is, that quick strike play action. Both defensive backs on the left side of the field bite. Shane Antwine keeps going on the go route. Eric Watson finds him deep, and it's a 78-yard touchdown. He's going to make his plays eventually. Storyline of the game, and that was the winner, which was a great walk-off touchdown.
Wow.
The storyline of the game to me was Bill Morris had a 75 QB rating, and Eric Watson ended up with a 145 QB rating.
Wow.
That's quite a discrepancy, and I would expect that if you see that QB, that's such a difference in the QB ratings, the higher rating's going to win. Shout out to Ike Hall for the Bears, though, rookie middle linebacker. 7 tackles with 2 for a loss and a forced fumble. Great game by him.
Yeah, wow. He's really that middle linebacker's trying to fight for that position because there's a middle linebacker controversy there between their 2 great stars, Corin Rogers and Ike Hall. So he's playing for his job, and you can see it on the performance. You're absolutely right, man. What a great breakdown. Lamar Ball with his 2 catches, 87 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's just so consistent. And Eric Watson, he's looking like one of the best quarterbacks. Honestly, you just have to say it after a performance like that. He's just so good, man. He's just so good. Beautiful play. in overtime to get the walk-off touchdown. And what a struggle all game. It was tough to watch these two teams, these two powerhouse offenses here, both struggling, both really well, both really good at throwing the ball, but neither of them could get it going. And then the Demons persevere. What a performance by Eric Watson. Unbelievable. And Shane Antwine as well, with his 3 catches, 94 yards, and a touchdown was absolutely legendary performance for the Demons franchise. So let's get into the next game. Or actually, let's get into the standings before we get into the next game. Let's go look at these standings right away. And let's go take a look at the Demons. Demons here finish with the 9th for points per game, which is actually really low, but still managed to have 2 wins. 9th for total offense, 11th for the rush. But that 4th pass offense is really just taking them the distance. And look at this 4th rated defense. 5th against the rush and 5th against the pass. Not doing too hot on the turnover differential, which I'm actually surprised about. Maybe they have turned it over a few times on offense, but I guess they just aren't getting the turnovers defensively. Because I know that their offensive isn't really turning it over too much, at least not at critical times. Man, this 4th offense and 4th defense. What stands out to you, Demons? What's your thoughts on this?
That was defensive stats. 4th, 5th, 5th. They fluctuate from week to week. It's a completely different defense on the road. We'll have to see how they hold up against Eric Reeves next week, because Dragons had a field day against them last week. Just hucking the ball all over the field and made them look foolish out there. Eric Reeves could do the same thing. If they can if they can find a way to bring the way their D plays at home to the road games, then they can keep those numbers up. But
yeah,
I'm skeptical, to say the least. They have not shown it on the road yet.
That's a very good point. It's going to come down to that when we go through the season. We're going to be noticing who's winning on the road and who's winning at home, so it's going to be a big difference. So that is a good point. So let's see if they can keep it up on the road. That 4th is no joke, though. 4th is really, really good. So these Demons definitely playing really well on defense. So I'm definitely excited about these Demons. I hope they are able to get it done next week. And then we'll also take a look at the Bears before we go into the next matchup. The Bears still with that 2nd total offense, even though they finished with only 20 points. 3rd best in the pass, 4th for points per game, 9th for defense and 1st against the rush, 4th for turnovers. The Bears get to go home and host a game against these Werewolves that have been struggling to find their identity offensively, but they're doing really good defensively. It should be a good test, actually, for this Bears offense. Can they avoid the landslide? They went 2-0. Can they avoid going or losing 3 games in a row here? What stands out to you when you look at these rankings, Demons?
2nd ranked offense overall after a game where they only managed 240 yards total. That just goes to show you how powerful this team is when they're on. Now, granted, I'm not taking anything away from the Demons' defense there, but the Bears were really balling the first 3 weeks, and one off week, this early in the season, one off week you think would knock them down in the rankings a little further than that, but 2nd overall still. So, wow, that's still a team you don't want to go against. We'll see if they can turn it around against the Werewolves. I'm not going to discount them, though. They've made some changes themselves, and this is going to be a nice matchup.
Yeah.
The rush defense and the rush defense of the pass defense. 1st overall rush defense. Lamar Lester ran for just under 70 yards in the game, but definitely had some key runs when he needed to. That pass defense, 10th overall, that probably cost them the game last week because it was what won the Demons the game was the two big pass plays.
Yeah, it's true. That big pass play in the overtime, that's for sure. And they were explosive plays. And I remember, I want to say it was the third quarter, maybe the second quarter, where the Demons had like a third, maybe even a quarter of the plays ran that the Bears had. And they were still able to keep up offensively and on the scoreboard with way less of time possession.
That balanced out a little bit as the game went on. I think the Bears finished with like 10 more plays, but yeah, the Bears were running significantly more plays, but not having it show up on the score sheet.
All right, well, let's see if the Bears can get it going offensively. They got the second best offense, but they're going against the second best defense and a really good secondary. So let's see if he could turn it around at home. Shotgun Billy is what they call him. Bill Morris there.
Shotgun Billy Morris.
Shotgun Billy. Yeah, he's good. I'm excited to see. I hope the Bears can turn it around. Excited about that game for sure. Okay, and then that was the Friday, which was what a heck of a Friday. And then the Dragons and the Werewolves were the first game on Saturday. Let's bring up their numbers here. The Dragons and the Werewolves. Wow. The Dragons really showing what they can do in this season here. They really did well season 1, and then season 2 fell off a little bit. And now in season 3, finishing 3-1, beating these Werewolves. Man, super impressed by these Dragons. They're very balanced offensively. They run the ball really, really well. And they had the 2 takeaways. This was quite an exciting game. The Werewolves, though the Dragons played really well, don't want to take anything away from how well the Dragons played, but the Werewolves switched their quarterback once again. Last week, Kerry Kirkland threw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and got a win. I don't know if you need to say anything else or need to look at any other stats. And they still pulled him and put in the new quarterback that they traded for, J.J. Horton, the former Rhinos quarterback. And you just see him playing out there, and it's like I've seen this movie before. And I feel so bad for the Werewolves. I don't think it was a bad trade. I just think that Kerry Kirkland is hot right now, and he's playing so well. And I just want to see more Kerry Kirkland, and I hope that they go back to him. If not, obviously it's their team, and I'm excited for their quarterback either way. But they played so well with Kerry Kirkland, man. It's hard to imagine them not going back after this performance. Demons, give me a breakdown of this game, and what was the key story of this game in your opinion?
Well, you've got the resurgent Dragons here. Like, they're 3-1 on the season now, and they look good. They've had one off game where they got blown out, and the rest of the time they have looked solid. The Werewolves are on their third different quarterback in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And J.J. Horton and Kerry Kirkland put the Werewolves into an awkward position because you trade for a quarterback, you got to play him. You don't trade for the quarterback to bench him.
Right.
But Kerry Kirkland comes off his one start looking phenomenal. It's awkward. If you win, you're right. If you're wrong, if you lose, you're wrong. And they lost, so he's wrong this week. I mean, if J.J. Horton pulls out the win, then no one's questioning it.
Absolutely.
Should he go back to Kerry Kirkland next week? I guess that's for the owners of the Werewolves to decide. I'd like to see what he could do. I'd like to give him another shot, but J.J. Horton's the guy for now, it looks like. So we'll see what he can do for these Werewolves. But the Werewolves have had 1 week where their offense was explosive. The rest of the time, they've been struggling. And this 18-point showing, it looked. I think it was Quincy Barnett was their old quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yes, that's what it looked like. It looked like the Barnett Werewolves again out there.
Right.
Dragons start with the ball. And they just carve through the Werewolves in the opening drive. Barry Perkins makes a 5-yard touchdown catch, and these Dragons look to pick up where they left off last week on offense. The Werewolves' response was a nice drive, marching down to the goal line, and then you got to look at the quarterback. Horton throws it into triple coverage, and Keontae Adkins for the Dragons makes a pick on the 7-yard line.
Wow.
So why are you throwing that ball, right? And do you wonder, does Kerry Kirkland make that throw? It's really, I'm not going to try to beat this dead horse for the Werewolves. They obviously know what they've got with their quarterbacks, but that's the question here.
Yeah, for sure.
Dragons follow that up with a nice drive, 6 straight runs by RJ Barber. They were really getting him established. And then the fullback Green has a swing route out to the left. The D doesn't pick him up. Runs down. He catches the ball in the backfield, runs down the sideline for a 26-yard touchdown. It looked easy for the Dragons on that one. Werewolves punt on their next drive. They're down 14-0. Dragons O-line is doing a phenomenal job this game. RJ Barber kept getting his touches. They had drive again to get another TD pass to Perkins. Werewolves did respond before the half with a big play. Horton beats a blitz, gets a 57-yard touchdown to Atkinson. They started getting Darius Burke established in the third quarter. They drive down to the goal line again, but Darius Burke, they kept trying to feed him the rock on second and third down, both times needing 3 yards on the 15-yard line, and the Dragons stuff on both times. Yeah. The Werewolves had to get a field goal. And the rest of the game, there was a nice pass in opening the fourth quarter. Trey Spires gets a nice catch for a touchdown, and it was a nice pass over the middle by Horton. Maybe Horton was starting to settle in with his new team. The Werewolves get the 2-point convert. They're down by 3, but the Dragons put the nail in the coffin on the next drive. RJ Barber, lean in on him. He rushed for 46 yards on the drive, punches in a 1-yard touchdown. It looked like the nail in the coffin. And the Dragons defense stepped up on the next drive. They made a big sack, could force the Werewolves into 3rd and 17, which was converted. These 3rd and longs that are converted are killing me, Johnny. But Werewolves drive all the way down to the 1-yard line on their last drive of the game, and it's just it seems to be the storyline of this one. Horton throws an interception in the end zone. I know it didn't matter. They're down by 10, but CB Michael Schwartz for the Dragons in great position to make the play, but maybe Horton shouldn't have thrown that ball. Dragons essentially run out the clock afterward for a gritty road win, and they were +2 on turnovers on the day, and RJ Barber just looked unstoppable, 146 yards and touchdown. I think well-played road game by the Dragons, and the Werewolves are back to questioning who is the guy at quarterback.
Wow, great breakdown. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's coming down to obviously the Dragons playing really well. It was the Barry Perkins show, and RJ Barber just crushing it. For the most part, it was all Barry Perkins offensively. It felt like anyway. It's just 7 catches, 2 touchdowns. But the Werewolves, man, their quarterback last week threw 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and had like 130-something quarterback rating, if I'm not mistaken. And now J.J. Horton comes here, goes 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and 2 big interceptions in my opinion. One real early for the momentum was big one, and finishes with an under 100 quarterback rating, 97 or something. Wow, what a performance for these Dragons, getting a huge
timely plays. They made timely plays, like those interceptions in the red zone, one in the end zone, one in the red zone. Like they're killers. They are momentum swingers for sure.
For sure, and what a huge road win for the Dragons. Yeah, go ahead. You could, if you have a point there, I'm going to bring up the rankings for these teams there.
I was just building on what you were saying about Horton's interceptions. Like not only bad plays by him, but great plays by the Dragons. Very timely turnovers are huge in these games.
Oh, big time! I absolutely agree. These Dragons now finishing 3-1, and what a big matchup next week. They get a big road game win, and now they're at home hosting these Cobras, who have lost 2 in a row, and they have won 2 in a row now. These Dragons looking really good now, 5th in points per game, 5th total offense, which is a very balanced offense. A good pass, good rush, attack, but their defense is playing really well. 6 total defense. But these Dragons, I don't know, they're playing better than their numbers on paper, but they got a big test next week. Can they ride the momentum at home? What do you think, Demons, when you look at this matchup and you look at the rankings?
Looking at their rankings, you got to look back to that Wildcats game where they got blown out.
Yeah.
It messed up their numbers because this is a strong team that had one off game, and the other 3 games they've won and looks good doing it. The Cobras, they're on a 2-game losing streak, and yeah, they're the best defense in the league, but the Dragons, I think I got to give the edge to the Dragons on this one. I think the Dragons are one of the most well-rounded teams in the league, where they seem to be good at everything and don't make a lot of mistakes.
Right. Yeah, I absolutely agree. They're right in the middle of the pack for the turnovers, and their offense is extremely balanced and pretty high, assuming they didn't score a lot of points week 2. That's for sure. Let's go take a look at the Werewolves. These Werewolves, we talked about the quarterback, and it's really starting to show on paper here. The 12th total offense, 12th last in offense, last for points per game, only averaging 20.7 points per game. Their defense is keeping them in it. They got that one win, and they're holding on to it. And hopefully they can use that momentum here. And both teams seem to be losing the momentum, these 2 teams. So one of these teams is going to hopefully get a spark out of this game. And the Werewolves definitely have a really good defense. Really good secondary. So I'm excited to see these Werewolves turn it around, and I'm really curious who they are going to start at quarterback. What do you think about this matchup, and what do you think about the rankings, Demons, for these Werewolves?
From the Werewolves' perspective, it comes back to quarterback play. Do you go with Kirkland, and does he pick up where he left off, or we've all seen the scenario where the backup quarterback wins one week and then comes back and completely craps the bed the next week. Maybe you stick with J.J. Horton and see, you traded for him. Let's ride it out and see how he does. The Bears are going to be hungry. They've lost 2 straight in overtime. They were winnable games. They're 2-2, and they don't want to go on a 3-game losing streak. This is going to be a tough matchup. You're on the road against them as well. The Werewolves got to figure it out quick, because their offense needs. I feel like I said this 2 weeks ago, and the Werewolves probably feel like I'm picking on them, but they got to figure that offense out.
They do. Well, it's the story. It is when you have the last ranked offense. Is the story. It's going to be questioning everything. You're either the goat or the donkey when it comes to those kind of decisions, right? Like you said, if J.J. Horton pulls out the win, then we're all talking about how great of a decision that was. So, yeah, well, I'm really curious what they're going to do next week. It's all eyes on the Werewolves and Bears game, and who's going to be leading this Werewolves team, and what is he going to do about it? And also, the trade deadline's coming up soon, too, if any moves were going to be made.
Well, they can't trade quarterbacks again, can they? I mean, they can technically, but you got to stick with it at one point. You got to stick with who you got.
Absolutely. All right. Oh my goodness. Let's go into the next game there, which was the Snake Bowl, the Cobras and the Vipers. Cobras and Vipers game. Wow. This game, honestly, this was probably one of the biggest shockers of the week. Piranha's winning, and a few other teams winning. Weren't really too surprised. Plus, the other games were pretty close games. We weren't really sure. This one, I don't think a lot of teams had the Vipers winning this game, honestly. the Cobras were looking really strong. The Cobras were at home. It was really close at first, and then the Vipers just took over in the second half. That's definitely how it felt. These Vipers, I was super impressed how well the quarterback played, Quincy Barnett. Um, there were 2 turnovers, like you can see there. Got the graphic up. They held these Cobras, who usually have a really good rushing game. They usually run the ball really well, and they just couldn't run the ball this week. And the Vipers really took advantage of it and scored 42 points on the #1 ranked defense on the road. Vipers have to win Coach of the Week for this kind of performance. Demons, give me the breakdown and what you think the key or the story of the game was.
42 points in the Cobras defense is huge. That defense is still ranked first in the league, and they are the engine of that team. They keep the team in. They allow the Cobras to play their style of game by keeping the game close and keeping the other team's offense shut down. Quincy Barnett looked like a different player on the Vipers. Throwing a number of touchdowns, just leading a number of efficient drives. I mean, he put up 42 points. I think that's more than he put up in this season with the Werewolves. So it's needless to not that I'm trying to pick on the Werewolves, but I mean, if you kind of feel for the owner on this one, where you're wondering what the heck happened, why didn't he do this for his team? She shows up for the Vipers and puts up 42. In the Snake Bowl, which I love, by the way, both teams opting for the color rush. All green Vipers against all gold Cobras. Vipers changing their playbook up, opting for all New England. That New England playbook is pass heavy. Although they ended up with 204 rush yards on the day, they let Barnett throw the ball a lot. Cobras started the game 3 and out. Vipers responded with a touchdown. Quincy Barnett made some nice throws on the drive, which maybe you attribute a little bit to the playbook. Maybe that suits Barnett's skill set better. Yeah. Cobras respond with a touchdown drive. Ron Simmons looking good. Hits Michael Pounds for a 16-yard TD, and you start thinking, here we go again with the Vipers, because the last few weeks, the Vipers are all about these close games with lead changes all over the place. Now, the lead didn't change there, but you get a 12... Barnett responds with a touchdown. Cobras get a field goal. Vipers go 3 and out, punt. Okay, this was a crazy play. Vipers go 3 and out, punt. Cobras fumble on the punt. The ball bounces around. There's players all around it. Vipers pick it up. Cobras force a fumble again. Ball bounces around some more. And then the Cobras end up with it at our own 20-yard line. And then the next play, the Vipers score an 80-yard touchdown, take the lead. If you're the Vipers, you're sitting there shaking your head. You're wondering what do you got to do to get a break? Because at that point, you're 0-3, and you're watching that happen. You're thinking, you've picked up the fumble on the punt. You're thinking you got easy points. You're already in field goal range. Somehow, Cobras force another fumble and end up scoring an 80-yard touchdown right after that. You got to think you're cursed. But that's not the way the game went down. In the second half, the Vipers, you were right. They started taking control. There was a 69-yard TD by Phil Clemens where he at the beginning of the third quarter where he broke a number of tackles, made a number of jukes, and high stepped his way into the end zone. It's a beautiful run. And the game looked like it was starting to settle down a bit. Cobras were forced into punting, and then there was some smaller plays. And then Barnett hit Shane Lott for a 54-yard TD. Wow. Perfect throw from left corner to the end zone. Cobras kept trying the run game, even though we're down by 10. They weren't getting a lot of gain out of it. They ended up getting a 47-yard field goal to start the fourth. And Vipers get a kick return TD, which maybe skews the score a little bit here, and maybe makes us be a little too hard on that Cobras defense. But the Cobras, they're down by 2 scores at that point. They get down to the 1-yard line, and then they're stuffed on the 1-yard line on 4th and goal. Phil Clemens, and what happens is Phil Clemens runs off another long touchdown when really the Vipers were just trying to kill the clock. So we ended up with it. We had a 1-score game, and it was a kick return and a late game touchdown that skewed the score a little bit. Clemens had 13 carries, 186 yards, and 2 touchdowns. obviously helps your quarterback out big time when your running back can do that. Charles Hackett, an unusual day for Charles Hackett, 15 carries, but only 45 yards.
Yeah.
Also, Vipers acquired a cornerback, Kel McDowell, 5 deflections on the day.
Wow.
So obviously the Vipers trades paid off for them. I don't see how you don't give him coach of the week, because his moves paid off big time.
Wow. You're absolutely right, man. What a performance by the Vipers, and it's all starting to finally go together. They're like that one team. Like they're missing. They got everything but the quarterback. They have like everything. They're just like this perfect jet engine plane that's waiting for a pilot to hop in and just drive it to the championship game. And they might have found that guy in Quincy Barnett. If the Vipers finally found their quarterback, oh man, they were doing really well without one. So that one throw, like you were saying, to Shane Lott, the 54-yard throw that Quincy Barnett made, when he made that throw, I don't even need to see or hear the Vipers owner. I know he was yelling. I know he was so excited. He must have jumped out of his seat, because he's been trying to get Shane Lott involved in this offense since season 1. And if Quincy Barnett's hitting that kind of stuff, man, watch out for these Vipers. Cobras, they let up a second kick return touchdown. They let up one, I believe, against the Piranhas. And the Cobras, man, they just couldn't get it going on the ground. But kudos to these Vipers. Quincy Barnett, talk about bad decisions, or not bad decisions, talk about hard decisions when it comes to picking the quarterback. We're talking about the Werewolves making a decision at what quarterback. Same thing with these Vipers. They had Darnell Wells last week play extremely well for them. He had like 137 quarterback rating, 2 touchdowns, 300 yards. They could have totally played the backup once again. But they didn't, and they decided to go with Quincy Barnett as well, the guy that they traded for, and it paid big time. He scored 133.1 quarterback rating, only 216 yards, but the 3 touchdowns. Whoa! And the big one to Shane Lott, man, super excited for these Vipers. That's for sure.
I don't know about the Vipers with the quarterback though, John. Like, Darrell Wells had a good game, but he lost. And you only get so many chances, and you're an 0-3 team looking for a win. You made you make a trade for a quarterback. You don't make a trade to put him on the bench.
It's so true. You're absolutely right. You kind of have to start him if you trade for him. That is a very good point. These Vipers finished with the 6th best offense, 6th in total points, 4th in the rush, 2nd against the rush for their defense, 8th total defense. They finally got their first win. They're hosting a game next week against these Piranhas, and they're not scared of these Piranhas. I know they're not, because they beat them last season. What stands out to you, Demons, when you look at the Vipers rankings and about this matchup next week?
Well, this matchup's got drama written all over it. The Vipers being the only team that beat the Piranhas in the season last year. Well, they're coming off a hot game where they put up 42 points. Got a new look on offense and defense with some recent trades. The Piranhas have looked. The Piranhas are great, but they've looked like there has been some weaknesses on that team. Can the Vipers expose them? The Piranhas managed to overcome, and obviously the best team in the league right now. But they're not insurmountable. The Vipers absolutely are not scared. But we got to see, is this a one-off? Quincy Barnett.
Yeah.
We see. You look back to weeks 1 and 2, and he's a different player. We'll see if it carries over into more than 1 week here, or if that's just a one-off. That's to me the biggest storyline.
That's a good point. Think of this for a minute. You're playing for another team. You move on, go and play, and have a great game, and then your next game is against the Piranhas. He's getting tested early on a new team. So Quincy Barnett, he's got quite the challenge ahead of him, going against his third total defense and third for turnovers, regardless of who it is. And it happens to be the Piranhas as well. But they are at home, and hopefully that fourth total rush offense, because Phil Clemens, the running back for the Vipers, is playing really well recently, actually. I've really liked how well he's been playing. He had 13 attempts, 2 touchdowns, 186 yards, which is like the old Phil Clemens, like he was in Season 1 when he finished with the Season 1 MVP award. Offensive MVP award, that running back, he knows how to get it done, that's for sure. Super excited about this matchup. Now let's go take a look at the Cobras. Real quick here, the Cobras finishing with the 11th ranked offense, third in the rush, even though they finished with not a lot of yards. I can't remember how many it was, but it was not a lot of yards. And they still finished with the third best rushing offense, but the number one total defense still, number one pass defense, now going against these 3-1 Dragons. Can they bring it on the road, and can they avoid the landslide of potentially losing 3 games in a row here? What stands out to you about these Cobras, Demons?
That 11th rush defense rank. Phil Clemens, like you mentioned, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. You got to wonder how much that helped out Quincy Barnett. I mean, your running back has a good day, your quarterback's going to benefit.
Absolutely.
The Cobras, they don't move the ball through the air a lot. 11th on the pass. They're third on the run. Charles Hackett, yeah, he was shut down for most of that game, and still third on the rush for offense. The Cobras style, the 11th points per game, I don't even look at, because they'll win with 22 points. That's my opinion. They can they'll outscore you if they put 22 in, if their defense holds up their end of the deal. That's what happened this last game. Is the defense just they broke down, and it was Barnett and Clemens just finding a way to break through. The Dragons have shown that they can do that too. So it's gonna be a tough one for these Cobras. I don't think you need to make a whole lot of changes if you're them right now, but something's got to give. You're going on the road against a good Dragons team who's looked good in the last couple of weeks. It's not going to be easy for them.
That's for sure. I think this is a big turning point for both of these teams. It is a bit too early to say it's a huge part of the season, but I think this is going to be a big part of the momentum. Can the Cobras avoid the landslide? And avoid going 0-3, and then you start questioning everything and start changing things and stuff. Like, hopefully these Cobras can get it going next week against these Dragons on the road. Very excited about these Cobras defense and playing really well. That's for sure. Let's go take a look at the next matchup, the Rhinos and the Gators. What a game this was. That's for sure.
Ralph Dorsey makes his Gators debut in this one.
Yes, he does. That's a very good point. They finally get to see him. Yeah,
am I wrong about that? Did he play week 1?
Well, he played week 1 for the Blue Jays, right? Or no.
No, I think he played week 1 for the Gators. It's my bad on that. But he hasn't played for 2 weeks because of Irv Walsh, right?
Yeah, that's right. Because of Irv Walsh, yeah. So we finally get to see the Ralph Dorsey playing for the Gators. We get to see it, man. I'm excited to see him playing again. And he did end up playing extremely well, actually. And honestly, this game, my heart was twisting. Because I wasn't talking to the Rhinos owner or the Gators owner when this game was going down. We didn't get to watch it together, but I just know at home that the Rhinos' heart must have been twisting at the end there, because they had this game looked like early, and they were playing so well, the Rhinos. It just felt all game like it was the Rhinos' game to win, and then they just Gators in the fourth quarter, just one touchdown, boom, and that one the catch. what was it? The one to Alan Dwight in the back left of the corner there was unbelievable. What a catch there to tie it up 38-38. And then the play before that as well was like a really, really nice touchdown. Oh yeah, the Darius Norton. He was looking one way, and then he turns around and catches it like as the ball was released before he even turned his head. What a play that was. That one even faked me out. Honestly, it was a great play for the Gators wide receiver there, and Ralph Dorsey for the Gators quarterback. But the Rhinos persevere in a heart twister right at the end. Demons, love to hear your breakdown on this one. This one was a thriller for sure.
If you like offense, then this is the one for you. Defenses were getting torched in this one. Gators, maybe to start the game, both teams go 3 and out, contradicting what I just said, but then it's all offense. Gators score the 63-yard TD run by Matt Davis. A nice wheel route by Mark Marshall on the ensuing drive by the Rhinos, and caps off a 12-play, 67-yard drive. It was a beautiful play. I don't see that a lot, a call like that a lot in our league, and that wheel route was a nice play. Gators respond with Dorsey throwing his first TD pass in a few weeks with a 1-yard goal line throw to Darius Henson. Then the Rhinos start taking over. They lead Alonzo Atkins gets the start again for the Rhinos, leads a TD drive on a nice corner route. And then there's a field goal in there. Rhinos get the ball back, 29 seconds left in the half. Atkins runs a 5-play, 17-second drive for a touchdown before the half. Wow. And then at the beginning of the third quarter, busted coverage by the Gators leads to an easy touchdown from Atkins to Dorsey. Gators go 3 and out, and Atkins goes back to work, gets a field goal. It's 31-17 Rhinos. And then we start seeing the comeback. Dorsey hits Henson on a long throw, gets a 26-yard TD to Clemens. Rhinos go 3 and out. Dorsey hits another beauty to Henson for a 29-yard TD, outrunning double coverage on the play. Rhinos finally show some life, respond with an 80-yard bomb. Atkins to Dorsey. There's 2 Dorseys here. There's a Dorsey receiver for the Rhinos and for the Gators quarterback.
Yeah.
Dorsey to Davis gets a touchdown in the next response. Like I said, defense is just getting torched. Like there's big plays all over the field. Receivers running wide open. Like, very exciting stuff. With 51 seconds left, Alonzo Atkins completes a deep pass to Jason Jones down the right sideline. 51 seconds left. You guys check out this play. The DB was reading it all the way, was in position, and it looked like an easy deflection, if not an interception. And Jason Jones looked like he just takes it. Just takes it from him. After that, though, like this is the Rhinos had the lead at that point. The game was tied. But the Rhinos opt for 3 straight runs, couldn't burn any clock, didn't get a first down, ended up having to kick a field goal with 44 seconds left. Gators have a timeout. So it's 41-38. So you're thinking 44 seconds at a timeout. Gators have time to tie this up and send it to overtime. And we are robbed of that chance by one of the most lackluster endings of the week. Even though this was a great game. A fumble on the kickoff. Dorsey doesn't even get to see the field. Fantastic game by the quarterbacks. They combined for 9 touchdowns, but that fumble on the kickoff to end this one, I would have liked to see the Gators get the ball back and see if they could let the Rhinos defense stop them. But hey, that's football.
Great breakdown. It's so true. I would have loved to see what the Gators would have did with that if they would have got the ball there. You're absolutely right. I was talking to the Blue Jays about this game, and Blue Jays was like, why didn't they call the challenge, whatever, right? And we're talking about it, and he goes, well, there was someone in the Rhino Stadium, I believe, that tackled the official before he was able to make the call down. Or something like that.
Fan interference?
Yeah, the fan interference or something. The communications got cut off there. But what happened is the kicker got the credit for the first fumble. But if you go back and look there, the kicker did not blow him up. The kicker squared up with him, and he had to wrestle him to even get him down. So it was not like he blew him up. He squared up with him, and then number 58 walks by right there, and he ended up having 2 recoveries on the day. Jack Hamilton punches the ball out, or at least hits the ball, and the ball drops, and he recovers it. You go back and take a look at that play. That's the way it looked like to me, anyway, that I remember. And the Rhinos recover it, and wow, what a drum! The crowd must have been losing their absolute mind, the home stadium, after that one. So that was super exciting to watch. That's for sure. What an exciting game! These Rhinos must have been so excited. And now the Rhinos. They actually have 2 home games in a row, and now host the Scorpions as well. They have the 4th total offense, the 10th total defense, but the 4th against the rush, 5th in turnover differential. But the big one, in my opinion, is that 3rd for points per game. It seems like every game these guys get in is a shootout. They got the new quarterback in there, Alonzo Atkins. They traded for a quarterback as well. Actually, we're talking about trading for a quarterback, and you've got to start him. They had the backup quarterback in there now for 2 games, and he has 9 touchdowns, I believe, something like that. And he threw for 5 touchdowns. The backup quarterback for the Rhinos played absolutely phenomenal. 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Man, these Rhinos, man, if they found their the recipe on offense. Demons.
Atkins looked great.
What do you think?
Atkins, like he played much better this week than he had a good game last week too, but I think last week he had some throws that could have been picked that just were knocked down. This week, yeah, he looked improved and looked great. I don't see how you go back. Like, you make a trade for the quarterback, and yeah, you think you got to start him, but this is the Kerry Kirkland scenario, except the Rhinos win, so they made the right decision. This is where you're looking. If the Rhinos start the quarterback they trade for and lose, we're all looking, why didn't they start Atkins? He didn't play that bad last week.
Right.
But yeah, Atkins gets the win, and be curious to see what they do next week. Do you go with the hot hand, or do you go with the quarterback you traded for?
Yeah,
I think I'd go with Atkins personally, but you got to see what the owner does.
Yeah, it's really cool to see, actually, both owners, a bunch of these different owners trading quarterbacks, and both ownerships making different decisions. It's really cool because one team, the Vipers, had a good backup quarterback play well, and then put in their guy they traded for, and then the Rhinos got a guy they traded for but didn't start him and kept their backup in, and both ended up playing really well and getting the win. And the Rhinos quarterback actually last week threw the game-losing interception. Wasn't that against the Blue Jays where the Blue Jays quarterback threw the pick, and then Alonzo Atkins threw the pick back to back?
Yeah, that was a debacle at the end of that one where Eric Reeves throws a interception when all he had to do was run the ball. Rhinos look like they got it, yeah, and then he throws an interception in the end zone.
And they still started him again. They stuck with the young rookie. So look at this, it paid off, and he promised the owner, I guess, that he was going to deliver them a W, and he did. And now they host these deceiving 2-2 Scorpions. They're definitely going to get tested with their defense this week because they've already let up a lot of points. So these Scorpions definitely know how to score. So that's going to be an exciting one, that's for sure.
That Scorpions defense is tough. I'd be shocked if they allow the amount of big plays that the Rhinos got this week. I don't think the Scorpions are going to allow that. So we'll have to see how that matchup goes when they have to grind it out a little more.
That's true, because the Rhinos were very explosive on offense, and the Scorpions have a great turnover differential. And play really good on defense, but let's give these Gators a little bit of love. These Gators, oh man, they really played so well. They played really well. Their quarterback went 4-0. Had a really high quarterback rating. Ralph Dorsey finally getting into the swing of things. Finally getting comfortable with these Gators. Really liked going to their 1-year pro wide receiver Darius Henson. They had him at the number 1 slot and ended up getting like 7 catches, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns, I believe, somewhere around those numbers. Anyway, they were competing blow for blow with those Rhinos and lose a heartbreaker right at the end, and could easily be 2-2 right now. They're now at home and they are hosting the Wildcats, and this is a week where they are going to get tested big time. Their pass defense and total defense is looking really tough, and their turnover differential. What do you think is going wrong with these Gators? And give me a breakdown of their rankings and maybe a little bit on this matchup. But really, what can these Gators do to really turn things around? Is the big question.
They got to find a way to improve that defense. This jumps out the page as the Wildcats' #1 offense against the Gators' number 12 defense. This is not the type of game you want to go into for the Gators right now. You've come off 2 losses where Ralph Dorsey has not won a game as a Gator yet, or a regular season game. I'm not sure if he won preseason or not, but like the win is Irv Walsh, and then Irv Walsh put up one of the poorest showings of the season, or the poorest showing of the season at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
So basically eliminating his chances of getting back in there.
It's true. Yeah.
I don't think the offense was the problem in this one for the Gators. Dorsey played a good game and just got robbed of his chance to get them back in it, which plays into that -5 turnover differential. There's a lot of glaring mismatches on this one, where a +5 versus a -5 turnover differential.
Wow.
Best offense against worst defense. It's 4-0 against 1-3. This one's going to be a tough one. The Gators are at home. Maybe that plays into their favor, but I'd be getting a little concerned if I was the Gators about this one.
Yeah, oh, for sure. This does, I don't want to say it, but this definitely looks like a mismatch. That's for sure on paper. And the Wildcats know how to do it because they did it against the Dragons, who are 3-1. So they're able to go up and go up fast. So, yeah, the last place defense against this #1 offense is going to be the story. Can these Gators slow down these Wildcats offensively? And can they find their identity on offense? And can they get their first Ralph Dorsey win? And Gators, man, I really hope they can turn this thing around. They really need to get their running game going. Matt Davis, their running back, is really underrated. They need to get him more involved, and that's going to help the pass. But like you said, the offense is not the issue. It's the defense. Letting up 41 points, that's hard to win. But yeah.
And maybe it goes back to the Rhinos. You said the Rhinos get into a lot of shootouts.
They do.
So maybe that doesn't really help the analysis of the Gators' offense. If the Rhinos get into shootouts every time, then you really don't get a good handle on what the Gators' offense can do. Like maybe this week will be a better idea of what that Dorsey offense looks like.
That's a good point, especially if the Rhinos let up a lot of points, right? Then it was maybe a little bit of deceiving. But man, that is going to be a big test for these Gators. Let's get into the last matchup of the weekend. What was the 8:30 game on Saturday, which was the Wildcats versus the Blue Jays. Let's bring that graphic up here on the screen. Boom. There it is. What a heartbreaker. This seemed to be really close all game. I really thought the Blue Jays were going to upset these Wildcats on the road. It did seem to be Wildcats early. I believe it was 17-9 or 17-6 or something. And they brought it back, and they take the lead and get 1 point lead. The quarterback, Eric Reeves, played great, in my opinion. He got smacked as he was throwing the ball and completed on a seam route, it felt like, and got a 1 point lead. They tried to go for a 2-point conversion, and Joey Norman, the defensive end for the Wildcats, just blew him up. He was the guy that got the forced fumble against the Bears in the Bears opening drive when they played them. He's been playing phenomenal. But the real one was the Blue Jays should have had multiple touchdowns, in my opinion. They could have totally win this game. There was a big drop, a huge drop by George Coyle, I believe it was, number 82 on the top left, where it hit him just before halftime, around there. It hit him right in the hands, it felt like, and it bounced right out, and I was like, wow. And then there was another play on the right side, I believe the Adams, where he hit him and he was out of bounds, but he caught the ball. So I was like, that's not Eric Reeves' fault. Eric Reeves played really well, but the Wildcats had just enough time to come back and get the game-winning field goal. Demons, love to hear your breakdown on this one. This was a real close one. Holy smokes.
This was one of my favorites of the week. I love the way this one played out. It was some solid defense and some good offense. But Eric Reeves, I loved that the Blue Jays let Eric Reeves go on this one. He had a great game, throwing all over the field. First couple possessions, both teams got field goals. Blue Jays ended up with a second field goal on their next possession, and the Wildcats were the first one to open up the touchdowns, with Engram hitting Jackson for a 23-yard TD. Now, this is where it goes off the rails a little for the Blue Jays, because after that Jackson touchdown, Reeves hangs onto the ball a little bit too long, looking to make a play on 3rd and long, gets hit, fumbles. Wildcats recover. 7 plays later, it's Engram to Jackson for another touchdown, and it looks like the Blue Jays you're looking at an undefeated Wildcats and 1-2 Blue Jays. You're thinking this one's going off the rails. That wasn't the case. Reeves he drops aside. Reeves led him to a field goal drive before halftime. Obviously, a lot of field goals for the Blue Jays. They need touchdowns, but a touchdown here or there, and this game goes different. But that wasn't the case. Either way, we're looking at a 17-9 game at halftime, and that doesn't look so bad considering that huge fumble that the Wildcats caused with that, and then getting the 7 points off turnovers. Yep. Wildcats go 3-0 to start 3rd. Blue Jays respond with another field goal. Their kicker is the MVP of this game by far. Blue Jays couldn't get a stop on 3rd down. On the next drive, Wildcats end up getting a 22-yard run by Simpson. It's 24-12. Wildcats were 24-12 with 3:20 left in the game. And then that's when Reeves throws his first touchdown pass. Blaine Higgins made a great run on the drive. He should have been tackled for a loss, turned it into a 17-yard gain. Reeves turns that into a touchdown. Blue Jays end up getting stop the Wildcats on their next drive, force a punt. And then the play you were talking about, Reeves hits Coyle for a 67-yard catch and run touchdown. 2-point convert, though. They needed to go for 2 because of the score. And they didn't get it. That's what you're going to look back on as the Blue Jays owner and just think, all the field goals and everything else aside, they get that 2-point convert and it's in overtime, and who knows what happens. I know the Wildcats are great in overtime, but all you have to do is get there, and then it's anyone's game. Absolutely. Wildcats finish off the game with a nice drive, 23-yard field goal with 2 seconds left to win it. And that's what good teams do. They control the clock and they find ways to win. The Blue Jays, I look back at the big things that cost them the game, because they scored. They had more scoring plays, but field goals and that missed 2-point convert is really they're the big issues that the Blue Jays got to clear up. Like you got to get that short yardage going. You got to get that short yardage game going better. Get that convert, and you gotta get some of those fielders. You got to turn those into touchdowns. The field goals aren't going to win you games very often in this league.
Oh, it's true, man. Well, great breakdown. 4 field goals. Wow. And then trying to go for 2 and then didn't get the 2. They still had a chance to stop the Wildcats there with the 1-point lead, but were unable to get it done. They definitely played them so much better in the second half, for sure. And it definitely wasn't a blowout by any means, but it definitely felt like the Wildcats, because they were exchanging touchdowns and they were getting field goals there just before the half, so it definitely felt that way. But they were so close, and Eric Reeves had 2 touchdowns, and he had 2 touchdowns in the end zone that he potentially could have got. The one that George Coyle, one
Antrell Adams, the two wide receivers. Both of them finished with Antrell Adams had 9 catches, 126 yards, and a touchdown. George Coyle had 8 catches, 161 yards, and a touchdown. Very balanced going to both his receivers. And they both could have had another touchdown on top of that. So these Blue Jays looking really good offensively. Wildcats find a way to win it in a defensive match. These games are always close. The last time these two teams played, the Wildcats won 30-29. So these two games, these two teams play each other really tight every time, it seems like. Let's go take a look at the breakdown, or the rankings, should I say, for these Wildcats. We talked about it earlier. Wildcats, man, second for points per game, 35.5 points per game averaging. That's a lot. Total offense, first. Pass offense is really what it is. Their rushing offense is a little higher than I think it should be, but or at least looks like. But the second total offense for sure, they've been playing phenomenal. Gene Ingram has just been playing really well, getting all of his receivers involved. And Troy Jackson, their wide receivers, got another 2 touchdowns now and is leading the league in receiving yards. Their total defense is definitely deceiving. That 11th total defense, third against the rush. But the big story is their turnovers. Forcing the fumbles, recovering those fumbles, to getting the interceptions. The Wildcats can do it all. What do you think, Demons, when you look at the Wildcats' rankings and this matchup next week?
Well, I think when you look at the Wildcats right now, the only real debate is who's better. Is it the Wildcats or the Piranhas? These two teams, you don't want to face either one of these two teams right now. And first overall offense, pass defense is probably skewed because they go up and then teams got to throw against them. Turnover differential is got to be a huge reason for their success. They going up by 2 scores in that game against the Blue Jays last week. That's a game-changing moment. Now the Blue Jays did come back and ended up taking the lead late, which was good on them, but that made it a lot more difficult on them than it had to be. The Troy Jackson and Gene Ingram they're just playing fantastic. The Wildcats defense is playing great as well. Not a lot of flaws on the team right now. It's going to be a tough matchup for anybody, and to come up with a win, you're really going to have to earn it.
Yeah, that is for sure. Big matchup for these Gators next week, and these Wildcats try to keep it going and try to get 5 wins in a row. That would be huge for that franchise. So definitely excited for that, for these Wildcats, that's for sure. We'll talk about these Blue Jays. Give them a little bit of love. These Blue Jays finished with the first total passing offense. Wow. 8th for points per game, 7th for total offense. Last in the rushing offense, which is so crazy for me to see, just because of season 2, how well they did with the running game. I believe they were 3rd, if not 2nd, for most of the season last year. And now they have the last rushing offense. They got the new quarterback in town, the new cowboy in town, and Eric Rees, and they're letting them sling it. 7th total defense, 3rd against the pass. But that defense is not getting any sacks and is not getting any turnovers, really. Blue Jays hosting at home. Huge game against these Demons. Demons, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Blue Jays in general and their rankings, and maybe a little bit about this game.
Well, Eric Reeves, they were 5th for passing offense a few weeks back, and Eric Reeves has taken the reins and propelled them up to 1st. I love it. I think he's playing great. He had some moments last week where he looked a little shaky, but he's with a new team. You can forgive him. This game against the Wildcats, he made one mistake, and that was holding, and it wasn't a bad throw. It was just holding onto the ball a little too long. The rest of the game, he played well enough to win. against one of the top teams in the league. The defense played pretty good against the Wildcats. They got to hold up their end of the bargain a little more to help Reeves out. These two teams are very similar on offense. The numbers are very close together. There's between the 7th ranked offense and the 9th ranked offense, there's 19 yards. So it's not like that's less than 5 yards a game difference.
Wow.
Yeah, so they both play similar style with the passing, more skewed to the passing than the running. Defense is the big difference here. The Demons have had some games where they shut teams down. I don't think the Blue Jays have had that yet. So we'll have to see if Eric Reeves can overcome that defense. I think that's actually the storyline here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Wow. That's exciting for sure. Wow. Yeah, good breakdown. It's true. These two teams pass the ball like crazy now. So it is going to be the Eric versus Eric. Eric Watson versus Eric Reeves. So that is really exciting to see these two quarterbacks sling it next week in the Blue Jay Stadium. And that is all the games. We could take a quick look at the standings. But for the most part, that is all the games there. Very excited for the Week 4 games and Week 5 coming up next week. So it's going to be a big one. Also, the trade deadline's coming up July 14th. And then we're into the second half of the season. Super excited about it. And thank you, Demons, for taking the time to help me break this down.
Anytime, John. I love it. With these standings, the first thing that stands out to you is these top 3 teams. The Piranhas, Wildcats, 4-0, looking great. Dragons only lost to the Wildcats.
True.
And they've looked good. That was a fluke game for them, I'm going to say. I mean, it was an off game. They weren't up to the task that week. Then the Wildcats took advantage. You got a lot of teams at 2-2. The Bears could easily be 4-0, but they haven't found a way when in overtime. Cobras are strongest defense in the league. Demons are looking good at home. Scorpions are looking good overall. A lot of those 2-2 teams. It'd be interesting to see which way they go after this week, because they all are capable of winning, of getting on the plus side of the win-loss ratio. You start going down, the Blue Jays, Gators, the Rhinos, Vipers, Werewolves. There's no team that they all have wins now, so everyone's still in the hunt. There's nobody went 0-4. But there's a lot of QB controversy in that. And that's speaking volumes when you look at the win-loss ratio. When you're having QB problems, it's going to show up on the score sheet. It's a quarterback-driven league.
So true. Very, very good point, man. Everybody on the bottom seems to have the quarterback issue, or at least controversy. They have the talent. Every one of these teams has the talent on their team. It's just about finding the right guy in the right playbook. Thank you so much once again, man. That was awesome.
Thanks a lot, John.